Do law schools have an obligation to teach courses with legal technology? I mean, if this was going to be a really short one take, the answer would be yes, of course. Hi there everyone. As you can see, it's not just me on this one. I also have Tomas Vanderheyden with me as well on this episode of OneTake. David, being the mastermind that he is, was chatting with Tomas earlier today, and Tomas had a question. He said that's perfect for OneTake, and so he looped him in. So Tomas, what's your question?
Hey Andrew, so my question is, do you think law schools have an obligation to teach their law students courses in legal tech?
I mean, I do have an opinion on that, but before you make your way off camera, what is your Twitter handle for those out there who don't follow you but obviously should?
My Twitter handle is ThomasVD_Hayden.
Perfect. So follow him. He has some great perspectives on stuff. He's also been looking into AI to regulate AI a lot, which if you want, don't get him started on that. But thanks for your question. I'll do my best.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay, so do law schools have an obligation to teach courses with legal technology? I mean, if this was going to be a really short one take, the answer would be yes, of course. But I think what's happening with law schools is they generally lag behind in a lot of ways in terms of what actually has to happen in terms of a practical understanding of the future. And I mean, you do see a lot of, and every time I answer these questions, I always have to kind of say, it's not all law schools. You have great examples, schools like Duke, they have the legal tech hub there is fantastic. I mentor some of those teams, love what they're doing. Vanderbilt is always on the forefront of things like blockchain and AI, another partner of ours. And then you have schools like Georgetown, who's doing great, exciting things out of there. So there's always, those exceptions. But I actually think the exception should be the other way around. It should be the schools that don't have an emphasis on including legal technology in their course flow. And as a matter of fact, I think it should be mandatory, because this is what you're saying. Legal technology is just technology. It's something that can allow people to do much more with less. And I think we're selling ourselves short as a profession if these new recruits are essentially have to come into a law firm and then start fresh on that front. And I also think sometimes we place almost like an unfair burden on new graduates, because we think that there's an idea of a digital native, that because you're fresh and out of law school, you're going to be the one who understands all these digital systems. First of all, people graduate from law school at all sorts of ages at different times in their lives. On top of that, just because someone's even young doesn't mean that they're going to know how to use technology better than anyone else as well. Casey Flaherty has written about this. There's a ton of folks in the space who's written about this as well, about the idea that it's a myth, that there are some groups that just will take to technology. So what we need to do is put in place structure, and I think it should be mandatory. So Tomas, thanks for your question. I do think that has to be mandatory, and I think we see shiny examples of this happening, but I think it needs to be sped up, because what we're seeing in the industry are that clients are requesting that this stuff happens a lot quicker than we're seeing. And so I think we're selling ourselves short, and I also think it's a tremendous opportunity for law schools, especially in huge markets like the United States, which is undergoing significant market changes to distinguish themselves, because there's massive careers to be made in legal technology as leaders both in firms and at companies. I mean, Ross, we're always looking at graduates who've graduated with some solid understanding of legal technology, and that's always harder to find than you would expect. So the answer is yes. Loved having Tomas on here. David, if you can add on a reminder in terms of how to follow him on Twitter. If you guys have any questions, whether it involves law school, whether it involves in-house teams, bar associations, anything in between, artificial intelligence, of course, do not hesitate in emailing me. Excited always to answer your questions. And David, you brought in Tomas maybe to throw me for a loop, but that still was done in one take. And so there you go. Take care.